Before Disney owned half the superheroes in the entire world, they had to turn to an unlikely one, the Rocketeer. He was an homage to the classic heroes in the 1930s. He fought battles with the Spirit, he fought battles even with Captain America. They hyped the shit out of this movie. Pizza Hut gave you these weird cups if you ever got a kid's meal. An airborne Indiana Jones, Disney hailed it. Well, even after all that marketing, the movie still bombed. So what the fuck happened? Well, let's take a look. This is The Rocketeer. Our movie starts off as our heroes are test piloting this prototype plane. They are played by Alan Arkin and Billy Campbell. Down on the ground below, it just so happens that the FBI is chasing this guy for stealing a top secret package. That's pretty random, isn't it? So he ends up flying ahead of these guys, and for some reason the shooter shoots down the plane. Well, why the fuck would he go and do that? Does the guy just hate planes? So Cliff ends up having to crash land at the air base, and the FBI is all like, we're not buying you a new plane, go fuck yourself. So they try interrogating the driver of the car to find out what happened to the secret package. And he's all like, go suck a lemon. Not a chance. Turns out it's a jetpack that was developed by Howard Hughes. Yeah, and that's Locke from Lost. He's Howard Hughes? Turns out that Cliff and Peavy are broke because they sunk all their money into the prototype plane. As they're cleaning out the airbase, they find the jetpack. And we witness our first major problem with our hero.
I wouldn't touch that if I were you.
He's an idiot. He does stupid shit throughout this entire movie. He told you not to touch it. Why did you touch it? We are then introduced to our villain of the movie, Neville Sinclair, played by Timothy Dalton. You know, he always was a better villain than he was a shitty Bond. Turns out that he was the one behind stealing the jetpack. He hired the mob to do it, and now they're pissed because one of their guys is hung up in the hospital. So Sinclair hires an assassin to take out the driver of that vehicle. And look at this guy! Holy shit! He's ugly as fuck and like 10 feet tall. And his trait is he folds people in half. He's pretty intense. So Cliff has his girlfriend Jenny out on a date played by Jennifer Connelly. And man, is she ever gorgeous in this movie, I swear to God. So he lies to her about being in the plane crash and she gets all pissed off.
Go after her, you dope.
Now, two issues with our hero. He's an idiot and he's a liar. That's two qualities that you want in a hero, isn't it? Well, it turns out that our villain Sinclair is actually a big-time movie star in Hollywood. And Jenny's trying to break onto the scene. So then Cliff arrives to apologize to Jenny about lying and destroys the set mid-take. Our third problem with our hero, he's an ass. So Sinclair overhears Cliff talking to Jenny about how he found a jetpack and that it's going to change his life. At the same time, he also got her fired. So Sinclair thinks up a clever ruse to get the jetpack and asks out Jenny. I find this funny because she says yes, no problem. Yeah, like fuck that Cliff guy. So Peavy decides to put on an air show so they can earn some money to keep the airbase. Only problem is this drunk clown steals one of the planes and decides to go flying. So who's it up to save him? Why, the Rocketeer! And our fourth issue with our hero. He sucks! It takes him 3 attempts to save this guy. The first time he crashes into the bottom of the plane, then he falls off the plane, then he falls off the plane again, and then finally saves him just before it crashes, and then he just bails on the landing. Heroes are supposed to be role models and people to inspire to. I guarantee in 1991, no kid wanted to be the Rocketeer. Horse! I stand corrected. So the news hits that the Rocketeer is in action, and this doesn't bode well for Sinclair. This is also not good news for Howard Hughes, and he's like, get my goddamn jetpack back. Well, it doesn't take them long to track down Cliff and Peavy. Even that Frankenstein-looking motherfucker finds them. So Cliff and Peavy are too scared shitless to open the door, so what does the FBI do? They just fucking start opening fire! What? Why would the FBI just fucking start doing that? So they end up hiding out in the diner from the beginning of the movie, and the mob shows up and is like, so where's the Rocketeers, hey? So Cliff gets scared because he thinks the mob's gonna go after Jenny. Peavy gives him all the advice he can, but tells him he must do what he believes is right. Jenny, meanwhile, is on a date with Sinclair. He's slowly seducing her so he can get closer to the jetpack. Cliff dresses up as a waiter to warn her about the mob, for some reason, and ends up running into that Frankenstein dude again. I mean, who would let that guy in? He's ugly as hell. He once again becomes the Rocketeer and puts on one horse shit performance of superheroism. I mean, he almost burns the place to the fucking ground, and then he almost kills every single person in this bar. And the way they stop him? Just a net. A simple net. You're shit, Rocketeer. So the Rocketeer leaves without saving Jenny, which was the purpose of going there in the first place. And then Sinclair drugs her. And then the next shot? She's in his bed. I'm not gonna say it. You can probably guess what I'm thinking. But that's pretty sketch for a Disney movie to have. She even calls him out on it.
Do you have to drug all your women to seduce them?
Fuck! She ends up tricking him and knocking him out, and then we find the horrible truth of Sinclair. He's a Nazi? Well, who cares? I mean, we already knew he was the bad guy. Does this really make him any worse? In fact, he would have probably been a more interesting villain if we knew he was a Nazi from the beginning. At this part of the movie, we knew he was a really bad villain because good guys don't drug girls. So make him a Nazi now really doesn't have any effect. I don't hate him any less, I don't hate him any more, I hate him about the same. So the FBI catches up to Cliff, and they know that he is the Rocketeer. Turns out that Peavy has told Howard Hughes about everything, and just wants Cliff and himself to be cleared of all charges. So Howard asks for the jetpack back, but Cliff won't give it up because he needs to save Jenny. But then Howard tells the devastatingly truth of why they need that jetpack.
Keep watching, kid. Cost a man's life to get this out of Germany.
So we see this cartoon on how the Nazis want to steal the jetpack so they can make all these rocket men and invade America. There's a couple problems here. First of all, this wouldn't work. Americans had jet fighters, they would have took them out no problem. And second of all, why would the Nazis use so much money to make a cartoon on something so top secret that nobody should see? Goddamn stupid Nazis. But Cliff's all like, I don't care about Nazis, I need to save my girlfriend. So Cliff ends up making a deal with Sinclair that he'll give Sinclair the jetpack as long as he gets Jenny safe. Then the mobster finds out that Sinclair's a Nazi and decides to turn on him. Oh, isn't that sweet? He's the mobster with the heart of gold. So the FBI, the mob, and the Nazis all start fucking killing each other. So Sinclair and Frankenstein take Jenny on board a Nazi blimp. And for the last time, Cliff becomes the Rocketeer.
Go get him, kid.
You're an asshole, mobster with the heart of gold. So the Rocketeer stops being ass and knocks out that Frankenstein guy. As he's falling down, he ends up smashing through the window and killing the pilot of the blimp. So finally Sinclair and Cliff do the exchange of the jetpack. But Cliff has an ace up his sleeve. Yeah, without this piece of gum being here, apparently the jetpack goes apeshit and just kills you. Holy shit, it's just gum. So the blimp starts blowing up, but luckily Peavy and Howard Hughes are there to save the day. Cliff and Peavy decide that their rocketeering days are over, just as Howard Hughes shows up with a new model of their prototype plane. And Jenny and Cliff live happily ever after. So what are my final thoughts on the Rocketeer? Well, the performances are really good, especially by Alan Arkin and Jennifer Connelly. They nail it in this. The story can be fun, but it's pretty slow for the first hour and a half. Its major issue is the Rocketeer. And I'm not talking about Billy Campbell, he actually gave a pretty good performance himself. But don't make a superhero movie and have your superhero be a complete moron. The cool thing about superhero movies is seeing them do stuff that's beyond belief. This is just goofy. Well, I give it amazingly hot Jennifer Connelly out of 10. See you next time when we go over